Doctor Who is the latest brand to be utterly destroyed by an agenda that is to propagandize people through entertainment rather than entertaining itself. The viewership numbers are in for the latest season finale of Doctor Who, and they are terrible. The destruction of a long-running show is indeed taking place, and yet the media continues to cheer this sort of thing on. Today we're going to show you the track record of one such author who is out there celebrating the downfall of so many companies, not only Disney, but more. And we're going to examine exactly how long we think this can possibly go. Folks, we keep you ahead of the culture curve. Today we're going to do just that. Get ready for a masterclass in what's going to happen in 2024 with these companies. We'll explain why they're willing to sacrifice brands like Doctor Who in favor of their values right now. Well, they are destroying brands one after the other, but folks, we are not destroyed here on the WDW Pro channel. No, 56,000 subscribers is what we look to hit before the end of this year. 1 year, and you all have done that for us, and we are so grateful, thankful, and attitude of gratitude is what we have for each and every one of you. John F. Trent is here to join us today and have a conversation about why the industries at large seem determined to destroy their own brands. They say go woke, go broke, and well, we're going to find out, is that true or not? John, welcome back to the channel.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
John, you've also got two YouTube channels out there that folks should be checking out. You've got a racing channel, and you also have the Trent Report. The Trent Report, a brand new item. And folks, if you're not watching the Trent Report, I highly recommend that you subscribe. Check out John's link in the description down below. But now let's go to that Park Place, which is where John is the editor-in-chief. And John, help me out with the pronunciation here. Is that Ncuti Gatwa? Is that how I pronounce that?
I think it's Ncuti. I think they say Ncuti.
Ncuti Gatwa. Okay, Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor Who Christmas Day special ratings are second worst debut in history. Viewers abandon the show's degeneracy. And you put this out just the day after Christmas. Always working, a working man right there. The overnight ratings are in for Ncuti Gatwa's debut as the Doctor in the BBC's Christmas Day special, and they are not good. The BBC reports the Doctor Who special, The Church on Ruby Road, only saw viewership at 4.7 million. This is just marginally better than the final 60th anniversary special that saw Gatwa take over as the Doctor in The Giggle. The episode had viewership of 4.62 million. The other two previous 60th anniversary specials featuring David Tennant as the Doctor saw viewership at 5 million and 4.83 million. And John, is it fair to say that these are nothing compared to what Doctor Who once was?
Yeah, correct. If you go back and I compared kind of all of the debuts for all the Doctors, and it was the worst debut except for the original one, which that was the only one that it beat, but that was overshadowed by the Kennedy assassination back in the 60s because you saw it jump up in subsequent episodes.
Now, John, I want folks to go read this article and check out the rest of it, but in the title, you talk about degeneracy. Can you explain a little bit to us about what's going on here in this this episode that might drive viewers away? And as you do so, John, I want folks to remember out there that there seems to be a drive. There's a real effort underway across multiple industries and separate domains in which they are determined to modify their brands into being advocacy vehicles for a very particular set of political viewpoints. So, John, explain to us how this enters into that realm.
Yeah, this is probably the most insidious part, is where you have the Doctor who is the protagonist. This is the character that you associate with. This is the character maybe that you want to emulate, that they want you to emulate, and they want you to kind of adapt his quote unquote value system. But he's speaking with this alien creature, and he refers to it as a male creature using like male pronouns, and the character decides to lecture the Doctor, who's like, did you just misgender the creature? And then the Doctor immediately apologizes for doing it, and then asks the alien creature what pronouns he would like to be referred to as. And so that's exactly how they want us to operate as well, by kind of immediately apologizing and acquiescing to this demand. And the show has definitely been promoting that. Even in the most recent Christmas special, you're not even 5 minutes into the episode. As far as the entertainment sphere, I think they're going to keep doing it, because I think a lot of these people are motivated by the ideology, by the whatever they get from that ideology, whether sometimes it might be profitable in some senses, and other times it obviously is not. We've seen this with the Walt Disney Company. I think we're seeing the declines here with the Doctor Who as well. But I think they're going to keep doing it as long as they possibly can, until people actually tell them to stop and put a stop to it. And the only way you put a stop to it is by getting rid of those people who are indeed trying to push it. And I think that's the only way it really comes to an end, is you have to have people replacing people with good, strong moral values.
I'm not sure that the people that we're talking about right now, I'm not sure that they see anything as immutable, or at least I can't find where they believe it's immutable.
No, I think you're 100% right when you're referring to these people that have kind of like bought into this ideology. They are so self-absorbed and narcissistic, and it really stems from the sin of pride, that they think they can change everything. They think that they are God, so that they can change everything, and they don't realize that they're creatures and they are not God. And that's really where it stems from. It's the sin of pride.
Right. And there, whenever you are in dissonance with reality, I would say that trouble awaits at your door. And so that's something we should probably pay attention to. The reason that you want to be right is because if you are wrong on anything, the chance that you will suffer for being wrong is great. And the degree to which you will suffer is probably commensurate with the level of the lie that you have accepted. Now, I want to show this to you, John, because I want us to examine the way that the news media has been handling this and their track record. And so take a look. This is an article that came out of Rolling Stone by Miles Klee. This just came out December 27th, so yesterday. And it says, here's how much you would have made investing in woke companies this year. Conservatives seem to think they're financially ruined brands, that they've financially ruined brands that went against their values. But across the board, it's business as usual. And I would say that the moral or the advocacy that's in this article is that companies which take a distinctly partisan or ideological approach to their business have been great for business. And I would say that flies in the face of all logic that I can come up with. You want to appeal to the broadest segment possible of consumers, and therefore you should be as apolitical as possible. That I can't imagine how that could not be true. But Miles Klee makes that claim. And the way this article, of course, goes off the rails is that it fails to measure these companies versus the baseline rise or fall of the stock market. And so once you do that, then you realize, oh, wait, this is not correct. But this is not unusual, John, because if we go back to April 8th, Miles Klee, again, the same author, again from Rolling Stone, says, companies that get woke aren't going broke. They're more profitable than ever. Sorry, Kid Rock, Bud Light's going to be just fine. And so this was the prognosis that Miles Klee had for Bud Light back in April. There's just one problem, of course, and that is that that wasn't true at all. In fact, if we go to thehill.com, we can see in April, Bud Light sent someone beer cans with a face imprinted on them. Conservatives had a reaction. CEO Brendan Whitworth's June apology was widely panned as insincere. By that month, Bud Light's parent company, Anheuser-Busch InBev, lost $27 billion in market value. In July, the company announced it would lay off 350 employees. Its competitors grew. While it decreased by 26.8%, its competitors grew 15.9%. Its chief competitor, Modelo. And so take a look again. If we go back, the Rolling Stone article said going to be just fine. The reality 2 months later was a loss of $27 billion in market value, people losing their jobs, a decrease of more than a quarter of the total consumers possible. And so I think this goes back to the Doctor Who thing. I think this goes back to Disney, because this author, right, this Miles Klee, is still employed by Rolling Stone, still putting the same kind of information out there. This is the same article, just repackaged. It's the same mistruth, and yet continues to do so. It seems like the entertainment companies, as you've said, they don't seem to be learning their lesson. And so what I'm watching is that these people who are beholden to this ideology are driving down their relevance and their staying power with consumers, but they don't seem to care. Your thoughts on the idea that they literally don't care and they just continue to parrot this?
Yeah, this is pretty much a big piece of evidence about what I was saying. These people are beholden to the ideology. They're going to double down on it no matter what the actual evidence shows. They're going to gaslight people into thinking that the evidence shows something else than what it really does. I mean, you can't make this up. It's right here. This guy is literally trying to tell you that everything is okay. It's what is the meme? Like, it's all okay. And then the house is like exploding in the background. That's exactly what we're seeing here. And they're going to keep doubling down. I mean, the Walt Disney Company is the perfect example of this. I mean, where were we looking at $1 to $2 billion in losses just at the box office in 2023? Not to mention whatever they're going to have to shell out for Hulu and all of that stuff. And how are they going to even pay for that? So you're going to keep seeing this stuff. I mean, the Acolyte is probably going to be one of the wokest Star Wars shows we'll ever see, and that's going to be coming out next year. So I don't see them changing. I mean, Miles Klee is the perfect example because I think Hollywood is filled with people like Miles Klee.
So, John, then what I would ask is, as we watch this happening, I'm intrigued. Doctor Who in the past, and it has quite the past. I mean, it's one of the longest running TV shows ever. So, yes. The typical way that you would approach success with Doctor Who, if you're working on it, is you would say, how can we tell the best narrative possible, and how can we put a hook in this episode that's going to make people say they have to watch it. We've got to watch it. We've got to see this. The same would be true, I think, with all of these Disney properties that we've been talking about. The Acolyte, you bring that up. Lucasfilm, more broadly. We just did a video yesterday on Lucasfilm, and what we came away with was that even according to what their plans are, their scale and scope of Star Wars is so dramatically minimalized at this point that I can't see how they can have any kind of success remotely similar to what they once had. Even if they were successful with what they're doing, which I don't think they will be, it's still tremendously small in comparison. But it seems to me that very many of these companies, these studios, etc., that they're focused on what you and I have been talking about. And it's bigger, I would suppose, than what we've been talking about. You and I have been talking about the idea of identity and where that comes from. But, I think there are a number of social causes that these people are on board with that seem to take precedent over the importance of storytelling. And so rather than approaching these works as how can we tell the best story, they approach it as if, how can I embed my particular modern political value into this as a vehicle for expressing that and for propagandizing men, women, and children. And so that to me is bizarre, and I just don't see how it's sustainable over time. You got to think, for example, a beer company, a diet beer brand. What does that have to do with identity and with modern politics? You should stay as far away from that as you can, because your job is to sell diet beer, and the same is true for Doctor Who. Your job is to sell Doctor Who. Your job is to sell this idea that people should spend 30 minutes, an hour, or whatever with your piece of entertainment. It's not a vehicle for a Trojan horse of identity politics and all of this. But John, what's the end game to all of this? That's where I want to wrap up here. Tell the folks out there, where do we get the pivot eventually, if we get one at all? This can't go on forever.
Yeah, so I actually don't think there's I mean, as I said, I don't think there's going to be a pivot anytime soon when it comes to the people that are running Hollywood. I think that they're going to continue down this path. I think you might see some of them might diversify a little bit. I think we're seeing some of that with Sony Pictures. You seeing them push out some shows like Father Stu that Mark Wahlberg does, and I think Apple's kind of doing that too. They did they also had another Mark Wahlberg movie that came out, and then you're also going to see a rise of independent studios. I think Angel Studios has been putting out some good stuff. Sound of Freedom, obviously, the huge hit over the summer at the box office. So you're going to see things like that. There are going to be some like smaller competitors that are going to get it out there. I think you're already seeing some stuff at the Daily Wire offering different alternatives to what the Walt Disney Company and other children's programming are offering with their bent key stuff. And I think you're going to see that more and more. I mean, I know that as far as me and my family, we watch a lot of stuff on Forum, which is Catholic children's programming, and it's very good, and I really enjoy a lot of it too, and it can be enjoyed for the whole family. So I think you're going to see stuff like that. A lot of smaller studios kind of filling in the gap that these big giant Hollywood corporations have abandoned. because they have decided to embrace the identity politics, these kind of heinous, evil ideologies. So that's kind of how I see it. I think you're going to just see people working together, building up their own things, and we kind of see this in the comic book space. You see a lot of independent creators. You've got Chuck Dixon here, and behind me, you've got Eric July with what he's doing at Rippaverse.
Well, they're combined together now.
Yeah, so you've got all kinds of things happening. I've got the treasure chest back there. That's Voyage Comics. They're actually reprinting a bunch of old comics from like the 50s and 60s that have a lot of good, strong moral values and traditions. So you're seeing things like that. The people are creating things to fill in that space, and I think that's exactly how we're going to solve this problem is people making the change on that front. And then obviously, I do think that there's probably has to be some examination of what happens from the top down, because I'm actually not the biggest believer in the bottom up stuff. Obviously, I think that you need that as well, but I think a lot of it will eventually come from the top down, because I think a lot of this stuff is indeed influenced by the federal government with their rules and regulations and how the administration enforces a lot of the policies and things like that. And so I think at the end of the day, you are going to have to need political change in order to change a lot of the things that are happening, because I do think a lot of this stuff is coming from or at the behest of the federal government.
Well, that's a conversation for another day, I would say. I would also suggest to the audience out there that there is something to take note of when the most wholesome show that you could possibly watch, Bluey, is a preschool cartoon dog show, and that has frequently been the top streaming show in North America. I have never seen, nor would I have ever imagined, that a preschool show could possibly be the top show in America. And yet that's where we are. And I would suggest to pay attention to that, because if folks have to go to a preschool cartoon dog family to find values that will drive that kind of viewership, other companies out there should take notice. I suspect that there will be more emulators beyond just Chip Chilla trying to gather that kind of an audience. And it doesn't seem to me that efforts such as Doctor Who or what Star Wars has done or what Marvel did, I don't think that those are the way to achieve that kind of audience. If you want success over your desire for propagandizing your content, well, folks, look to, I guess, Australia and their animators to find the clues there on how to make that happen. Unfortunately for Doctor Who, maybe a long road back, as they're alienating fans. And just as we've seen with Bud Light, once those fans are gone, it's no given guarantee that they'll come running back once you make a change, because often those changes, of course, come with no mea culpa, but rather just a simple shift quietly in the middle of the night when the press is not paying attention. Folks, one thing we're paying attention to, though, is, did you like this video? Click that like button if so. Also, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below and let us know your thoughts. Folks, we hope you are getting ready for a great new year. We hope you are subscribed to John Trent and that you are bookmarked to thatparkplace.com. We are very excited for all of the content that John is bringing our way, the analysis that we need. As the corporate mainstream press lets us down, John is there to fill in the gap and bring truth as it once was in journalism. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
I just found out how to get WDW Pro's information, where he gets his sources. I can't believe he uses Wilton!
What?
We got a job to do. It's easy to hack into WDW Pro's computer.
You're kidding me. That's awesome. You know any other stuff?
Yeah, just Jonas Campbell told me.
Sweet.
Said Pro underpaid him or something.
A few minutes later.
There. Oh, awesome. Whatever. All I gotta do is hack into this thing. It's gonna be so easy.
Yeah, this isn't
All
a
right,
hack.
grab this picture over here.
Leave it to me.
Oh, no. Oh, Wilson.
Job done. What?
No, all we had to do was use the picture because he uses face unlock. Now we gotta go to thatparkplace.com and sub to him and his team on YouTube.
Oh, well, I already did that because I'm smart.